Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm David Knight. It's Monday, October the 14th, 2013, and here are our top stories.
Tonight, domestic opposition continues to gate veteran memorials. Then, Michael Savage joins the hunt for missing nukes. And food stamp recipients ransack a Walmart. That's next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Because let me tell you something, when these things implode like this, it'll implode so bad that the globalists won't even be able to ship in food and stuff for themselves.
Well, it was just 5 weeks ago that INFOWARS broke the story of nukes being moved secretly at Dyess Air Force Base. Now, these were nukes that were not supposed to be there, and we were told that they were going to South Carolina. Later, we found out that Lindsey Graham was fear-mongering about terrorist attacks, nuclear terrorist attacks in Charleston, South Carolina, and we learned that the number 2 missile commander was dismissed on that same day. Now, when that happened, a retired Air Force General Eugene Habinger said, "I know of no other case ever of a deputy commander who was relieved for cause." Now, he was the commander from 1996 to 1998, and it was a nonsense charge. He's not been charged by local authorities. But then it got much stranger on Friday. The number 1 commander of missile commands, nuclear missiles, was dismissed. And no one else other than INFOWARS and Michael Savage are interested in reporting this story. The crony media isn't interested in investigating anything about nukes being moved or even what appears to be an unprecedented purge of top-level nuclear commanders. And the fact that these firings were leaked in an email, and the email said that it was due to a lack of trust over a temporary assignment. This is a general who's in charge of all the nuclear commands. I wonder what kind of a temporary assignment he might have been on. Now, of course, it also is interesting to note that the general who relieved him of command had previously been in charge of space and cyberspace. Now, that would have obvious connections to the surveillance state. So the crony media is not interested in covering this, and I guess that is the real story. Now, also breaking on this weekend, if you remember, Obama is shutting down everything, right? He shut down all the memorials in Washington. These are memorials that are out in the open where there's no entrance fees. He even tried to shut down the Grand Canyon and thousands of miles of the Atlantic Ocean. But when he tried to keep World War II vets away from their memorial, that was a bit much for most people. And this weekend, they took him on. They took down the barricades, and they defiantly but peacefully took them to the White House and stacked them in front of it. Now, today, they put them right back because Obama just doesn't realize what a PR disaster his behavior is. He's acting like a petulant, spoiled brat. And look at this video footage of this guy just spoiling for a fight with the veterans, egging them on. Isn't that disgusting? I mean, Obama is saying to the World War II vets, you didn't build this. And for once, he's right. They fought for something very different than the kind of government that we're getting from Barack Obama. Now, there was another confrontation at the White House this weekend, and this was from a Nobel Peace Prize nominee who lost to Obama for the Nobel Peace Prize. Malala is from Pakistan, and she confronted him about drone strikes, and she pointed out, she expressed her concerns that drone attacks are fueling terrorism. Innocent victims are killed in these acts, and they lead to resentment among the Pakistani people. That's right, they actually create more terrorists than they kill. Now, we're being warned all the time by the mainstream media that irreversible damage is going to be done to the economy if we don't take care of this next crisis coming up on Thursday, the debt ceiling. This is what they're typically saying.
The deadline for Congress to raise the government's limit is 3 days away. Treasury Department officials are warning that if lawmakers do not reach an agreement by Thursday, the government will default on its debt for what is the first time ever with an asterisk. And I say with an asterisk because after the War of 1812, it happened for a brief time. And then back in 1979, because of a sort of technical glitch, it happened again very briefly because Congress delayed raising the debt ceiling. Anyway, this would potentially cause irreversible damage to our economy.
An INFOWARS article points out it's a much bigger asterisk than Shepard Smith said. The U.S. has repeatedly defaulted on debts. It's not just at the War of 1812. It was the Revolutionary War. It was also around the Civil War on greenbacks, Liberty bonds in 1934. And China is alleging that the U.S. has already defaulted by weakening the dollar. When they print massive amounts of money, if you've got a debt with someone and you decide you're going to pay them back with monopoly money that you've just printed with a fiat currency, that's a way of defaulting. Are we going to allow the government to grow the debt by another 5 or 6%? That's what they're looking for with the ceiling. They're going to use that ceiling. They wouldn't call for it and demand it if they didn't need it. We've got to stop the spending. And the irreversible damage that's being done to this country is not by refusing to go into greater debt. It's by shipping our jobs overseas, taking away labor, taking away our income-producing ability, and now we're going to be transferring away small businesses, local businesses, as well as our wealth with things like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. On Friday, Mike Adams was on the Alex Jones radio show, and he was talking about the unfinished and unusable Obamacare website, and he pointed out that there would be major catastrophic issues if the EBT site were to go down, and the very next day, that's exactly what happened. So what does it tell us about society when we see this happening? How did people react? We saw the EBT card food stamp recipients ransacked Walmart stores. Walmart tried to work with them and tried to give them some leniency to let them purchase things, even though they couldn't verify if they had any money on their EBT account. And the story goes on to report that one woman who racked up $700 worth of groceries had only 49 cents on her card. And when the database came back online and card purchase limits were suddenly restored, the card holders abandoned their full carts and just walked away. That's why you should be concerned about the kind of fragile infrastructure we have and the kind of moral conditions that we have here in America. Now you can watch the INFOWARS Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at infowars.com/show.
And you should also be concerned about another infrastructure, not one that's falling apart, but one that's being built, an infrastructure of tyranny with the TSA and with secretive courts. We learned today that the NSA gets a green light from a secret court. This is their own court. DNI Clapper has decided to declassify a court decision and disclose publicly that the government filed an application with the FISA court seeking renewal of the authority to collect telephony metadata in bulk, and that the court renewed that authority. Well, isn't that nice? We've had the pretense that courts can change the Constitution. Now we have the pretense that secret courts can change the Constitution without any argument, without any debate, without the public even knowing what is in these court decisions. Take a look at this decision here. It shows, first of all, notice that we've got about 15 lines blacked out describing who and where they're going to be getting tangible things from. And then look at the top and bottom of every page. It says top secret. There is no reason for any court in America to have a top secret decision. The U.S. needs to know about that. They pretend that they're changing the Constitution. They aren't. The emperor has no clothes. And yet what we hear today is in direct contradiction to that. We see that Sensenbrenner, who was one of the ones who put together the Patriot Act under George Bush, is now saying that he's going to put the NSA bulk collection of data out of business. He says it's time to put their metadata program out of business. Well, since he wrote the Patriot Act and since he hasn't really been involved in civil liberties for the last 12 years, is this anything more than a head fake? Is he really kind of concerned that this Frankenstein monster that he's created, he needs to distance himself from it now that he sees the peasants picking up pitchforks and torches? I think that's all there really is to it. If he's really serious, we'll see them shut down the FISA court and we'll see him put in jail the judge that issued this decision, as well as the FBI people and the NSA people who are using that decision. Well, it's not just the feds who are getting into the Tyranny Act. It's also at local state government. And we got a special report right after the break with Alex Jones showing you what happened in Austin this weekend.
Why is nascent iodine so important?
Nascent iodine is so important because it goes directly to the thyroid. It's not bonded to a salt, which means it doesn't have to be broken down, and it's the most usable form. It's what the body uses. It's what the body is designed to use. If you have low energy levels, if you have pains, if you have thyroid problems, if you don't feel up to par, Well, they've proven now that the fluoride and a lack of iodine causes a decreased IQ because you have all this stuff that builds up inside your system and builds up and builds up. And that's why some people, when they start taking iodine, will have what's called a Herxheimer reaction or a detoxification reaction. But that's a good sign. That means you're detoxifying all that fluoride buildup, the mercury buildup in there, the bromine buildup in your system, and the chlorine buildup in your system. You don't want those things. All of those things have been proven as carcinogens. That's one of the reasons prostate cancer is on the rise too, is because prostate takes up iodine, and the men that are lacking iodine causes the prostate to become cystic and causes the prostate to swell and eventually leads to prostate cancer. There's been an extreme rise in polycystic ovarian disease, PCOS, with women, fibrocystic breast disease, because iodine is stored in the breast tissue, the ovaries, the prostate glands in men. It's utilized by every single cell in the body.
Why does this almost taste good compared to other iodine that tastes horrible? That's because it's real iodine atomic form.
We wanted something that's going to go straight into the bloodstream and straight into the thyroid gland. We wanted to put it in a vegetable glycerin base. That's a USP kosher certified vegetable glycerin base. And that product is not tested on animals. It's vegan friendly. It's gluten free. It's GMO free.
Of all the things I've done, Nascent Iodine was just absolutely amazing. So we developed with Dr. Group a double strength, low price, InfoWarsLife.com, Survival Shield, the Atomic Nascent Iodine, available right now.